for the police to come and interfere with my protest. It's totally legal as far as I'm concerned. There's things that really should not be contested. Leaning picket signs up against a tree should not be something that police officers should come by and say you can't do. Writing chalk slogans on the sidewalk is not something that police officers should come along and say you can't do, let alone give you a ticket for. That should be recognized as within your constitutionally guaranteed rights to peaceful public protest and freedom of expression and so on, especially within the context of a protest. And in fact, there is legal precedent in other provinces that makes it clear that writing chalk slogans is entirely within the rights of protesters. But, certain SPVM cops just don't want to believe that. And I actually did get a ticket once for that. I contested it, got one of the second-rate judges at the Montreal Municipal Court who upheld it. I should have appealed, but didn't. So I refused to pay because it's total bullshit. Nobody should get that kind of ticket. And so even though the judge upheld it, I just refused to pay. This is going back some years. I was prepared to spend a day or two in jail if necessary to get rid of the thing. Well, I found out to my chagrin that they don't do that anymore. And what they did do is they suspended my driver's license. So I can't say I'm very happy about having my driver's license suspended as a result of refusing to pay a ticket for writing chalk slogans on the sidewalk, which has absolutely nothing to do with my driving skills. So that's, again, just how fucked up the system is in some ways. And I'll have to deal with that one of these days. There's, I think, one or two possibilities for correcting that situation, but I'm almost certainly going to have to redo my driver's test and all that kind of shit just because some asshole police officer decided to give me a ticket for writing chalk slogans on the sidewalk. Sorry, but maybe asshole's a little too strong. But a police officer who doesn't give a shit about constitutionally guaranteed civil rights and freedoms and thinks that people don't have a right to write chalk slogans on the sidewalk and thinks that they deserve a $100 ticket. Okay, maybe not an asshole, but basically an incompetent cop who doesn't really care very much about civil rights and freedoms. Anyhow, let's see how we're doing time-wise here. Ended up protesting longer than expected. So 20 minutes. So we'll go for another 10 minutes. We'll let the reel run out. We'll continue the monologue. So that was 2012. 3 really stupid police interventions. If you want to see the videos, you just run a search for Roy, SPVM. Roy is R-O-Y, SPVM. That'll find it. But you might want to throw in Unitarian Church too. Mother's Day SPVM, Unitarian Church of Montreal. Anyway, Mother's Day SPVM search will find the video of the female cops that threatened me with a ticket. Had a nice long philosophical discussion. And then, the bus stop zone one. I think if you search SPVM bus stop zone or bus stop or bus zone, you'll find it. So those 3 videos went up, and the police, I think, finally came to their senses and realized that it's just not working out very well for them intervening in my protest. And they did come since then. They continued to receive complaints from the church members, church leaders. In fact, in January of 2014, this is actually quite an interesting thing, which I think on the whole the police behaved quite well. I think they made a few mistakes, but they corrected them. So if you make a mistake and you correct it, then we're okay. What happened is my first protest in 2014. I think it was the 4th of January of 2014. I'm protesting and walking back and forth with picket signs. I'm turning around and walking this way, walking this direction. I see Margot Ellis, a member of the church, coming towards me. I move to my right here. I stand pretty well right where this manhole cover is. So I'm sort of standing off the sidewalk on the manhole cover. There's at the time there was like a stop sign type thing a few feet away. So it was sort of centered. So I'm basically right off the sidewalk. There's lots of room to go by. Yes, there was a fair bit of snow, and I was actually stepping in the snowbank to be off the sidewalk to give Margot Ellis plenty of room to pass. What does she do? She barges into me and elbows me, and she knocks me flat on my ass. Like, she gave me enough of a body check that I fell off my feet and landed on my back. So we had a little discussion about that, and then she went into church. And then I debated, you know, whether or not to call in an assault report to the police. And, you know, being the fairly easygoing guy that I am, I decided, well, I'm not going to like rush and call 911. You know, it's not a big emergency. You know, we'll think about this a bit. We'll decide what to do. We'll even maybe just call the cops up later in the week and say, what do you think? You know, what should I do here? So basically I continue my protest. And just as I'm leaving, like, I'd packed everything up, I'd even turned off my camera, a police car shows up. And guy rolls down his window, and I tell him, I said, I'm leaving, you know, I'm gone, you know. He says, oh, I have to talk to you. Okay, fine. So he's essentially detaining me. Says we have to talk, and I didn't know specifically what about. And he started off talking about the fact that I'm filming people, which I believe I'm entirely within my rights to do as part of my, you know, variety of reasons. I mean, first of all, just documentary video. I think I have every right to do that. But, you know, this is essentially my personal security camera. I'm like running this camera to protect myself from false accusations by Unitarians, assaults by Unitarians, you know, such as the one I just recorded, you know, an hour earlier. Theft of my picket signs, and also abusive interactions with police. So to say nothing of the good ones, you know, I put the good ones up too. You know, I don't hide the professional, polite police interventions when they do happen. I put them up there and I say, hey, this is a polite, professional police intervention. Maybe there should be more of this kind of police intervention rather than these idiotic, stupid ones, you know? So anyway, so we're discussing the issue of filming. And this is even, you know, I hadn't even, you know, turned my camera on at that point. It became obvious that, you know, basically I should start filming. So I hit the record button and started recording. And then what happened is another police car showed up. So next thing you know, I think there's like 4 cops. A couple of hours. 2 cars, 4 cops. And what happens is one of the cops, not the first one I was talking to, but one of the others that had arrived, essentially suggested that I'd assaulted a woman in front of church. He didn't put it in quite those terms. He said that a woman fell down in front of church, and I obviously was responsible for that. You know, like I had somehow caused this woman to fall down. I said, no, that didn't happen. And he says, we have eyewitnesses. I says, well, you can't have eyewitnesses of something that didn't happen. And in fact, I got video of Margot Ellis barging into me and knocking me on my ass with a body check, you know. So if anyone fell out in front of church, it was me, not a woman. And it was very, very clear that what had happened is that after assaulting me, either Margot Ellis or some other accomplice within the church, or both, had called in a complaint to the police accusing me of assaulting her. I mean, that's pretty much the only conclusion you can come to based on the evidence. As I said, no, you got it all wrong. And I have video to prove it. And in fact, the first officer who I'd spoken with, who'd been pretty reasonable throughout the whole thing, you know, asked to see the video. He said, if you've got the video, I'll go in and arrest her. And I wanted to keep the video recording because this was like a tricky situation. So I said, not now, you know, like, you know, later kind of thing, you know. But what I did say is I said, look, I was assaulted, knocked on my ass. Since you're here, I was debating whether to call in a complaint, but since you guys are here, I want to bring an assault complaint against Margot Ellis, and on top of that, I want to have her charged with public mischief for calling in a false report to the police, because it was fairly obvious that she was involved in this false report to the police. And in fact, one of the reasons I came to that conclusion is because she had been involved in a previous completely false report to the police some years earlier, which I haven't discussed yet, but that's another issue. And in fact, I should say that, just to get to that, I think that goes back to like 2010. I think it was 2010. Might have been 2011. I'm pretty sure it's 2010. The same kind of thing. I was falsely accused of assaulting a woman outside the church, and it wasn't clear who exactly I had supposedly assaulted, but it was clear that Margot Ellis was involved, because she was one of the people talking to the police. The good thing is I had, by that time I was recording almost everything, so I had video evidence of like everything that had happened, and there had been no assault of a woman by me outside the church. And I actually had one of the most polite and professional police officers dealing with the situation. And I told them my side of the story, which was no, absolutely nothing happened. I didn't even touch someone, let alone assault someone. So this is complete bullshit. And at the time, I didn't know that making a false report to police was a crime. Had I known, I would have asked him to have the person charged with public mischief. But as it is, we sort of ended things out very friendly, and he just left, kind of thing. That was the end of the story. We even shook hands over the whole thing, which was good. So that was one of the better, if not one of the, I won't say it's the absolute best interaction, but it was up there in the top 5 and more like the top 2 or 3, police interventions I've had, where I was being accused of assaulting someone, and the cop behaved well.